stocks our strategists feel are poised to deliver positive returns are featured now in their top stock picks of the week.
Welcome to Zacks Top Stock Picks of the Week. I'm Tracey Ryniec, and I'm joined here at the chairs this week by Kevin Cook. And we've brought you a couple of pot stocks. Yes, pot stocks are the top stock picks, but you wouldn't know it from the names of the companies because they're secret ones. So let's jump right into it, Kevin, because these are kind of, everybody goes crazy over the companies that have been changing their names to blockchain and all that stuff.
Right.
And now there's a lot of talk like, oh, you should change it to cannabis somehow in there. But neither one of these has cannabis in the name, yet they're pretty hot stocks.
And they seem like conventional businesses.
They do. So let's talk about them. I brought a REIT, you wouldn't think to find that. It's called Innovative Industrial Products. And no cannabis in there, but they do specialize in buying up buildings where medical cannabis is grown, and then they lease it back to the growers, basically, in the wellness medical side. And they're in the United States. This is also kind of the myth that everything is in Canada, but they're in the United States, and as of February 8th, they had 12 properties now. And the interesting thing about them is they're small, but the growth is rapid because just as of their last earnings, they only had 10 properties. So they've added 2 properties in the meantime. They haven't reported fourth quarter yet.
Demand is high.
Yes. So I brought what's happening with the earnings now. We only have full year estimates with these guys. We don't yet have quarterly estimates.
Okay.
They're small, so they're not widely covered, but they are in the year. And you can see 2018, almost more than doubling by 2019 here. And they
profitable.
Yes, they're one of the few. That's why I like them, that they're actually making money off of this model. Now, what they do is, as I said, they buy the building, then they lease it back. They're 100% leased on those buildings, so this is good. And then they pay out 90% because they're a REIT back to the shareholders. So you do get a dividend yield with this one, and it's yielding 2.1% right now. Now, they've been raising the dividend because they have to pay out 90% because revenue is really exploding. And they had, in the third quarter, revenue up 150% year over year because, again, they're still small going from that small base. But they made $3.9 million in revenue in the third quarter, expecting better for the fourth quarter, given that they keep acquiring properties. Now, part of the issue with that, though, is that they have been doing secondaries to raise more cash to buy more buildings, because that's part of what a REIT does, is that, you know, they usually have pretty big debt load because they have to own the buildings and all of that.
And they're paying out 90% of their cash flow?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So you get the dividend. If you're a dividend investor, you're kind of looking for a way to get in on the pot trade with somebody that's actually making money. This is like a good avenue, I feel. And then if you take a look at what the shares are actually doing, they've gone kind of ballistic here in 2019. So some other people are discovering this company, but as you can see, it still has the dividend yield of 2.1 because every quarter it has been raising that dividend year over year as the revenues have expanded.
Right.
So
they're almost going to double their earnings this year, it looks like.
Yeah. And yeah, so you got that great earnings growth going on. It's 24 times. Is that super expensive? I don't think so, even though I'm the value investor. I feel like that's not bad to be paying for a high growth story like this.
Right, for a young REIT that's probably not alone in the space, but relatively alone in a huge, what could be a huge market.
Yes.
Yeah.
So innovative industrial properties, you wouldn't know it by the name. IIPR is the ticker.
And you wouldn't think I had a pot stock either if I told you it was GW Pharmaceuticals. This is a really exciting company. I just have been learning about it in the past couple of months here, and I wish I'd learned about it sooner because there was a great opportunity to buy it not too recently.
Now, isn't this the one way to kind of get in that's like legitimately they're doing R&D on the pharmaceutical side?
Well, absolutely. And besides that, I call this company a real trailblazer because they were the first to get U.S. FDA approval for a drug to treat epilepsy. Yeah. So I just want to introduce you real quick to GW Pharmaceuticals by just going through why this company is a trailblazer, and I think it will sort of open the floodgates for other pharma to come into cannabis. Okay. They started in 1998 in the UK, and they were solely focused on cannabis. Now, in the UK, the way they say it is cannabinoid.
Okay.
In the US, we might say, you know, Cannabinoid, they say cannabinoid.
Okay.
Whatever. It's
Same thing.
There's plenty of research to do that. They've been doing it for 20 years. In 2010, they got the first treatment for MS. And they're focused on central nervous system diseases because that's where cannabis has leverage, is in the central nervous system, obviously, without the THC effects, without the psychoactive effects. 2013, they go public here in the U.S. 2018, just last year in June, FDA approves Epidiolex for 2 rare epilepsies. And at the time, the FDA called it an important scientific advance. Well, this got the DEA to move. As many people know, the DEA classifies drugs, and there's the whole Controlled Substance Act. Well, they have these 5 schedules that are all about, is the drug dangerous? Does it have a medicinal use? Is it addictive? So addictive and dangerous kind of go together. And does it have a medical use would be good. But so things on Schedule 1 are considered to have no medical use and could be dangerous or addictive. Marijuana is still on Schedule 1.
Okay.
So, well, the FDA, once they approved this drug, the first drug to be approved, they had to get the DEA to move. And they got the DEA to move Epidiolex all the way down to Schedule 5. So marijuana's still there, but this particular cannabinoid derivative is on Schedule 5, safe.
Wow.
You know, not controlled. U.S. sales began for Epidiolex November 1st. It only took 4 years to go from the initial drug application to the FDA until approval. And here's a shocking stat. Their sales are projected to go from 15 million last year to 500 million in less than 2 years.
Okay, so how is it doing that if this is a drug for like rare epilepsies where there's
they already have the MS drug.
Okay.
And they've got a few other things in the pipeline I'll show you. But so as with any drug, it's all about reimbursement, right? You have to get the insurance, you have to get the payers to say. So what's happened here with Epidiolex is that, especially with the rare epilepsies, there might be 24 different epilepsy medications out there, but they don't work for everyone.
Right.
So families keep trying something for their children, and when they find something like this that works, then the physicians are like, I'm writing this prescription off-label or on, and we're going to get insurance to pay for it.
Okay.
Because this is what your child needs to live.
Okay.
You know, because I remember in beginning of the year, J.P. Morgan had their big annual healthcare conference. That was a big deal for biotech anyway, but GW did a presentation there where they showed a video and told a story about a family, about a little girl who was having 400 seizures a day just from anything that excited her, and they found that the Epidiolex worked for her.
Wow.
So
that's great.
Yeah. So that's going to be the sales uptake and obviously the insurance reimbursement.
Now, this side of medical marijuana, we always hear that because even with innovative industrial properties, it's medical cannabis.
Okay.
But they're growing it for medical reasons separate from, I believe, what this is. It's more the wellness side, other things. This is like actual, the pharmaceutical companies becoming up with the medical, not just
where a doctor has to prescribe the medication.
Okay. So there's all these different levels.
Because it's a medication, it's a formulation that's been created through R&D and clinical trials, meaning it was tested on people, and then the FDA says, okay, this dosage works in this formulation. Yeah. So now it's going to be a pharmaceutical that has to be prescribed.
I feel like when people think about medical marijuana, they think about smoking it to help with symptoms, when you're in cancer therapy, chemotherapy, stuff like that. That gets the tag medical marijuana, but there's this whole other world.
And CBD could be a whole Wild West, too, right? Right. Whatever you can buy online. Right. But if you think about it, the example of the family with a young child with epilepsy, they don't want to go online and buy some CBD that they don't know anything about. Right. They want their doctor prescribing a specific dosage that's been, quality controlled, it was tested, et cetera. Yeah. So I wanted to show the price chart to show the opportunity we just missed. Okay. During the big meltdown in Q4, you could have bought GW under $100. And now we're back to November when the U.S. sales first started. So I'm not saying rush out and buy this stock now, but if you're a long-term investor, I would think about nibbling on these shares under 150. And because if these sales projections are right, you know, they've got quite a future ahead of them. I just want to show you the pipeline that, you know, it's not just about Epidiolex, but Epidiolex there are the two types of rare epilepsies, Dravet syndrome and Lennox-Gastaut syndrome at the top there, both approved. So that's Epidiolex approved for that.
Okay.
Their Epidiolex is in phase 3 for 2 other conditions. And then below that, they have their MS drug that is approved in the rest of the world. It's been out there for 9 years.
Okay.
So it's probably on the FDA's list. So once the FDA says, okay, we can, you know, prescribe this in the U.S., then that's going to increase their U.S. sales here. And then they're working on other stuff, you know. I don't know if I mentioned that in learning about this, we've discovered that there's over 100 different cannabis compounds that could be experimented on. So there's a whole wide open field for pharma to, you know, find out what does this derivation do.
Will most of this pharma be taking place in like the UK though? And
no, clinical trials are being done here in the U.S.
Okay.
So that's the FDA has really opened the door here.
Okay.
You know, because and GW, that's why I call them the trailblazer, because they've got clinical trials going on now, and so you know, it's the red carpet is there, so to speak, for pharma that wants to begin clinical trials.
But the R&D is probably be done outside of the U.S. given the legal issues here. Is that right?
That I'm not sure about. Okay. Because I would think because GW actually has a Carlsbad, California facility. Okay. So I'm sure there's R&D being done there, and if you're going to do clinical trials, you know, and if I mean, obviously the FDA didn't get it moved down on the DEA schedule until it was an approved drug.
Right.
So there might be a loophole there. Okay. I just want to remind everybody that the GW reports on the 26th. Okay. So in just over a week here. And then that'll be a huge report because everybody, since sales just started in November, everybody wants to see what are those Epidiolex sales. I'm
going to be on that conference call.
So it's pretty exciting.
Okay, Innovative Industrial Properties reports in early March. So we got both of these coming up. They're both Zacks rank #2 buys right now. So it's a little unusual in the pot world too to get the good Zacks rank.
Legit pot stocks.
Yeah, legit ones. Okay, so those are our top stock picks of the week this week, and every week we bring you these hot stocks. You don't want to miss a single one. Be sure to watch all of our videos every week on Zacks.com, and we'll see you again next time.